And the first summer was more about, I felt more like I was sort of, in a very quiet way, I was like a little tiny bridge in between the peace camp and the community around there. And that was the big deal about that first summer for me, was being there as a member of the community and being a part of the peace camp also. I mean, when you look at that area, and like, at least like my boss, I worked for a big family farm. They were Republicans, they were Catholic, you know, they were like, they were all that. And, you know, if you would have asked them, like in 1979, do you ever think you'll have, first of all, a woman farm for a person, second of all, a woman who's clearly a lesbian who's actually sleeping with someone else that works on the farm, and that person is involved in some radical feminist nonviolent thing at the Seneca Army Depot, would you ever have that person running your farm? They'd say, you're out of your mind. You know? But by 1984, that was the reality, and it was like, whatever. I mean, because so much had happened in such a short amount of time. It just sort of, it did shift people's like consciousness in a way. I mean, those people will never be the same from it. You know, they probably were never the same after that. And I think like my boss, I actually knew him pretty well. And I mean, we did used to drink together back in the day when I first moved there, and even after that, even when I was at the peace camp, there was a bar we all went to, and he would come and we would get drunk and we would talk about everything in the world, and it just became like a ho-hum thing. It was like, oh, what do you think about so-and-so who's like who works in the packing house? You think she's like you or whatever? He would say, you think he has your thing? Or be like, yeah, maybe she does, I don't know. It's like, oh, I was wondering about her. You know, you probably would have never even thought that before, you know? It would have been like everyone's straight, and they're just, some people are more straight than others, that's all. So I think it probably did. There probably was a because the extreme was out there, the women taking showers in the car wash, because that story was out there, you know, a little old, you know, lesbian shopping at the Turkey Hill Mini Mart is like, who gives a shit, you know? Where before, you know, 5 years before, everyone would be like, oh, look at her, she looks like a guy, you know, or whatever. Excuse me, sir. Oh, I mean, and after that, it's like, as long as you keep your clothes on in the car wash, I don't care. Every community needs a peace camp for a couple of years just to condition them, condition their consciousness.